It's so small, and it's just the sweetest. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
My kids went there for the first 2 years.
Yeah. I just recently went back because Bella turned 18. Then I went back to her prep teacher, who is still in the same classroom.
Oh, did you not go there too?
Oh, both my children went to Cologne.
Oh,
Went
really?
through.
No way.
Went to Chancellor High. And we had the best experience. And yeah, his daughter was over there, and Harry came along with me, and Harry had her as well. And she couldn't believe how big he was. He was like towering over him. But she wrote, I did a scrapbook for Bella, 18 letters from 18 people who love you. Right. Okay, and Miss Cook wrote one for me. I asked her and her dance teacher and and Miss just kind of reminisced about some memories about when she was little and how soft she was and shy. But she really was.
Hi, Helen. Hi, Martina. Can you hear us in the room?
Chị này đang hạt rau về trồng. Không phải những cái gì không? Nhưng mà chồng thích lắm chị hạt stress.
There is the Mochi primary school tiny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's still small, but I like it. Mua chậu về. Wow.
Hello.
She's new.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, Kamal. Martina here. I'm one of the HDR deputy coordinators, and today I shall be chairing your confirmation seminar.
Wonderful. Sorry, we're just working at the room, but I think we can hear you and you can hear us okay?
I can hear
We can
you.
hear you.
And yes. Oh, and my apologies. I'm so rude. And of course, we have Dr. Helen Narung with us. Helen is also one of the SST HDR coordinators from FRI Institute. So Helen and I together will be chairing this confirmation seminar today. So so Kamal, just wanted to check in with you guys. You guys are ready. Obviously, I can see the PowerPoint on my screen, so looks fabulous. Is everything working? The PowerPoint, the clicker?
I think, yep.
That looks good.
Yeah, fantastic. So, and I just wanted to check that our supervisory panel is also with us. So Dr. Sam van Holsbeek and and Javier Leon.
Javier is an apology. He was in the field today.
Okay. Justin and Professor Anthony Finn. That's great. So, well, that's okay. As long as we have Dr. Sam van Holsbeek, that we can go ahead with the seminar. So, how it will work, I will just very, very briefly introduce the seminar, and then I shall pass on to Sam to introduce you, Kamal, and your research. And then after your presentation, we will open the floor to questions. We will ask our audience on Teams maybe just to hold off until the end. They can ask or they can type the question. We can read out, so there shouldn't be a problem. And then after Kamal's seminar, I would ask Sam and Helen to stay back. Just, it's just a formality, nothing to stress about. And then we can confirm you. So whenever you guys are ready, we can commence the seminar.
Right, wonderful. I'm just checking with either you, Martina, or Helen. There's a few people that we need to manually admit into the meeting room. Is you able to do that?
Yep. I've been doing that.
Oh, excellent.
There we go.
Yep.
David's there.
All right. Thank
Helen,
you.
can you see me?
I can see you, Christine. How are you?
I'm still here. I'm very happy to see you. Thanks.
We might just wait a minute. Seems like there's still a few people coming in.
Yeah, that's okay.
And we also have Christine online. So Christine was one of the external reviewers. So Christine, if you're happy, you're more than welcome to stay after the presentation as well, with
Yes.
Martina, Helen, and myself. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Christine, for acting as a reviewer. The contributions of our reviewers are very important at this stage of a candidature. So thank you.
My pleasure.
I just see that Federico has also joined, who is the other reviewer. So hi,
Oh,
Federico.
fantastic.
So Federico, after the presentation and the questions, you're more than welcome to stay with an internal discussion with the supervisory team and the HDR coordinators, and then together we will just assess the presentation of today.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are ready if you are.
Excellent. Well, I will be very, very quick. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming and supporting Kamal on his very important milestone, the confirmation of candidature. So in this milestone, I guess that's it. You can't go back. You can only go forward and very successfully wrap up your PhD project. But that's enough from me. So I will just brief housekeeping rules. After the presentation, we will open the floor for questions. In the meantime, we would ask our audience to please mute themselves. And of course, you know, you can always type the question in a chat. We will be monitoring. Today, Helen and I, we will be co-chairing this seminar together. And then after the presentation and the questions, as Sam said, we will ask our reviewers and the supervisory team to stay just a little bit back for a quick feedback and check-in, and then off to celebrate this milestone. That's enough from us. So I will pass the baton to Sam, who will introduce Kamal and his project. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So yeah, my name is Sam van Osbeek. I'm a research fellow here at the Forest Research Institute, University of the Sunshine Coast. Today I have the pleasure to introduce everyone to Kamal, those who don't know him yet. But Kamal is having a very important milestone today, confirmation presentation of the thesis. Kamal joined us late 2024 to start his PhD journey and sort of pursue his academic career, I guess. Joining from Nepal, made the long journey here and has been working really actively on his PhD project over the last year or so. Kamal has had a lot of experience in forestry already, has over 15 years of experience, particularly in Nepal, in the forest inventory, remote sensing space. Has a master's degree in forest management and forest and nature management across actually quite a few universities. So quite a bit of experience already. So we're really excited to have him. So today's presentation, he will just tell us about his research objectives, what he will be working on, and how he's going to address all of that. So without further ado, Kamal, the floor is yours, and good luck.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And first of all, I'd like to welcome you all in this presentation, my presentation. Now, my presentation topic is efficient weed management strategy in forest plantation, supported by weed detection and precision control. Here is my supervision panel. My primary supervisor is Dr. Sam, and then other supervisors are Associate Professor Xavier from University of the Sunshine Coast, and Dr. Justin Mead from New Zealand, and Professor Anthony from Adelaide University. Now here is the outline of my presentation. Within this stipulated time, we will discuss about background and context, and finally with the timeline and some publication plan. Now, as we already know, weeds are considered as one of the critical factors for the biodiversity loss, because they compete with the other vegetation in terms of, above ground competition or below ground competition. And in terms of biodiversity loss, it is considered as second most important factor after deforestation. The primary mechanism that the weed compete is either due to the allelopathy, release of certain chemical, or direct root system. And though we don't have any, cumulative figure in terms of how much wood has lost due to weed, but we can see, like, from different part of the world, different case studies have already shown that a lot of up to like 100% of the wood has been lost due to weed. And if we do not control the weed, then we can see here in United Kingdom, like, there is negative. This is the reduction due to uncontrol of the weed. A reduction in wood volume. In Australian context also, we have very few researches, because the research on impact of weed in forestry sector takes a lot of time. It is long term. The rotation is long. That's why it is really hard, to find the exact figure of how much wood or volume has been decreased due to impact of weed. Now, for the management of the weed, we have two management practices all over the world. And the traditional one is the blanket herbicide approach, which is still in function, while managing the plantation. It is still in practice. In this approach, as we already know, it treats like everything. It doesn't care about whether it is useful plant or weeds. It doesn't care. It's just applied broadcastly over the entire area. Due to which, there is concern about environmental impact and unnecessary use of herbicide. Now these days, the targeted herbicide application has been raised, and most of the researches has been focused, and particularly in the agricultural sector, it has a lot of research we can find over the targeted herbicide application, in which only treat the plant which are weeds, not the planted crop. The main motto of this of targeted herbicide is that. And another factor is, like, in forest plantation, still we are practicing broadcast herbicide in Australia. And while looking over these practices, we thought that, like, there is ample chance of saving herbicide if you focus on the precise herbicide treatment in forest plantation. For the precise weed management, precision herbicide treatment, the major thing that we need is weed mapping. Weed map, which shows where the weeds are and which weeds need immediate treatment. For this, we have different technique for the weed mapping. For this, we can do, like, from manual survey to satellite base, as well as UAV. These all have pros and cons. And now these days, most of the research and for the field implication has been primarily focused on UAV because of its flexibility, and high resolution imagery. And while integrated with the machine learning, we can enable automatic detection, classification, and mapping of the weeds. And it is also considered as cost-effective solution for precision management. Now, while looking over the forestry perspective, we have different challenges. Weed management challenges is not constant over the time. It means that when we have different stages of plant, at that time, the management strategy of the weed also changes. Like during the early stage of the plantation, we primarily focus on managing the weed patches rather than individual woody weeds. When they grow a little bit, then the later stage of plantation faces challenges with woody weeds rather than the weed patches. And another factor is that the weed that we have here might be different morphological trait while comparing to the weed in the another location, even from the same species. And other factor is like the operational limitation. Like the UAV flight design, sensor type, analytical approach, these all are associated with accuracy as well as cost. That determine the adoption of the UAV-based weed management technique. Through the comprehensive literature review, we found some research gap, particularly in the forestry sector, in weed management using UAV. The first one is the technical gap, where we couldn't, there are very few literature we can find over comparing the sensor types in forestry, particularly in Pinus and Eucalyptus species. And even we don't have any information regarding growth stage performance. Yeah, how the weed management, mapping weed changes with the growth stage. And even there is very little information regarding the temporal effect. Is it still unknown that with incorporating the temporal data, can we improve the accuracy of mapping? Is it still unclear in forestry sector, in forest plantation? And there are some operational gaps that we identified, like while somebody want to use the UAV for the mapping purpose, there is no clear guidelines. There is no clear guidelines for the selection of the flight parameter and sensors. And there is little evidence regarding the cost benefit evidence regarding this, as well as there is no clear operational workflow that guide for the selection of this parameter, as well as model generalization is also a challenge for the implementation of this technology. While coming with this gap in the literature review, we came to derive our research aim, question, and hypothesis. The overall aim is to develop a UAV-based cost-effective weed detection and mapping framework for selective herbicide in Australian plantation. And in this research, we plan to address three major scenarios, three major cases. The one is early stage plantation that I already mentioned that the purpose will be like weed patches detection. And another one is the later stage plantation where the major focus will be on woody weeds detection and classification. And the last one is the generalization of model so that anybody can adopt the developed model. Now, research chapter 1, it is, as I already mentioned, it is based on the case 1, early stage plantation. And we have research question 1, how do UAV sensor type and flight configuration affect the accuracy of weed patch detection in early stage plantation? And we have developed 3 hypotheses for this. Our hypothesis, one is UAV-derived vegetation index can identify weed patches from the bare soil or low vegetation cover. And then another one is RGB. Even RGB sensor could also outperform survey-grade multi-spectral sensor in detecting weed patches. And the third one hypothesis is lower flight altitude will lead to statistically significant improvement in the detection accuracy of the weed patches. Now for this, the site selection, we have for the selection of the site, we have certain criteria based on which we will select our site. The site must have following some criteria. like confirm presence of species, because we have, I mean, our main aim is to identify the weed patches. So we need to have weed in our forest line, I mean, for our study. And minimum topographic obstruction. Yeah, for this research, we only focus on visual line of sight. That's why we will ignore the, I mean, topographic obstruction. So we need homogeneous terrain, and then sufficient plantation area for replication. Yeah, we are at the moment we are planning like 10 blocks for replication. That's why we need sufficient area and logistic feasibility, like permission, accessibility, and safety other concerns. This is the flight information. We are planning to fly 3 types, I mean, sensor. 3 types sensor. Here are 2 drone, but 3 types of sensor. Yeah, the one is DJI Mini 5 Pro, is RGB. And then another one is DJI 350. It can accommodate 2 payload. We will use 2 different types of sensor, RGB and multispectral, both professional. And the flight height will be 30 to 120 meter, because with due consideration to the regulatory framework of CASA, yeah, and we don't want to have any, I mean, approval or burden. If we have to fly over this area, then we need to get permission, and there is a lengthy process. There's another factor is that most of the literature has also suggested this range for the weed detection. That's why we also use this. And overlap, 85% forward overlap, and side lap will be used sufficient for, yeah, almost like making. And the flight speed will be 4.2 to 4.8 meter per second to get read from the motion blur. And the timing will be 11 a.m. and though it and between 14 p.m. though it could be different as per the location, but to get the continuous illumination of the sunlight, yeah, we are selecting this. And there is the experimental plot. Yeah, we will have 10 block, and this is the example of 1 block where we will have plot size of 1 by 1 meter quadrant plot, and altogether we will have like 100 quadrant within each block. And in this block, we will measure field. Field measurement will be conducted, like total weight cover, crop fielding cover percentage, bare ground, dominant weight, and so on will be recorded from each plot. In addition, we'll also take photograph from the nadir point, so that we can it can be helpful for machine learning later to identify, I mean, during supervised classification. And here is a simple workflow for research question 1. Yeah, we start from the UAV data acquisition, and then image preprocessing or feature extraction, then training and validation data preparation, feature selection, and train machine learning. Yeah, for the machine learning purposes, based on available literature, we are using 3 different types of supervised algorithm: RF, random forest, software vector machine, and KNN. Then accuracy assessment, and then output generation. Now we came to the research chapter 2, where we will have later stage plantation. And our research question will be: what spectral, structural, and textural features are most effective for differentiating visually similar woody weed species in forest plantation? Here we have 3 different hypotheses for this. Our first assumption is for this, because we have here visually, I mean, similar species. That's why we assume that multispectral image should be used here instead of RGB. Multispectral image should work here. Therefore, we have like hypothesis: high resolution multispectral imagery will distinguish target weed species from crop trees with greater accuracy than RGB. And then another one is the integration of spatial context, like non-tree position And as well as the difference, the distance between plantation row will improve classification performance compared to classification without spatial references. And another one is the performance of classification models also depends on data size. This is the methodology for research question 2. The site selection criteria will be the same for this chapter 2, but the one thing is that we have included here the in-site selection criteria. The only difference is that we have regular spacing. Yeah, we should have regular spacing for this because we want to use the distance. That distance for identification of weight. In some cases, we need to identify weight of same species. For this purpose, we consider weight as even if anything besides the cultivated crop, even from the same species that grow naturally. These are also weights. And here the experimental plot layout is quite different because the block we are planning to have like block 50 by 20 meter of block and 10 replication. But here we rely on individual tree selection. The trees will be selected based on stratified systematic sampling method because we need a representative sample of the tree for the machine learning. And the flight plan will be the same as research question 1. Here structural measurement, we'll measure tree height and crown width from the two perpendicular axes as shown in the figure. And positional measurement will be taken using RTK GNSS coordinate at the crown center. And here we'll incorporate wild regeneration identification. Wild regeneration identification using spatial misalignment with the planting trees, as well as height or crown structural differences. The workflow will be the same for both, but in research question 1, we will use pixel-based and OBI, object-based analysis, both analysis. But here we'll only focus on object-based analysis and we'll incorporate structural metrics. Now research chapter 3. The research chapter 3, in research chapter 3, our research question is like how do temporal and spatial factor influence the robustness of the developed model across different plantation stages. For this, we have set two hypotheses. Our first hypothesis is model performance will vary significantly across season due to phenological change in weed appearance. And then another one is model trained on multi-season data set will achieve higher generalization accuracy when applied to unseen data from different season or region. For research, for this chapter particularly relies on earlier two chapters. We will do remeasurement on these chapters. On this site, take remeasurement. But the methodology is little bit different because for first two chapters, we will take like flight from different height and compare different sensor. But here we will take only the best parameter from the first and second chapter, and then continue resampling on the same location. Now we are planning to have some statistical analysis for this. Because of the nature of data, we cannot use like the most common parametric test. We cannot use because our data will not be independent of each other. So we'll use like Friedman test and post-hoc Nemeni test, Wilken test, and MC-NEMA test. As well as we'll also compare UAP ground measurement versus UAP derived measurement. And for this, we are planning to use simple linear regression, or if appropriate, mixed effect will also be used. Now here is the time frame and milestone. The red one is the milestone that we already achieved, and then next is today. The HDR confirmation. And then April, yeah, it will go until January 2028 for the thesis submission. Now here is my publication plan with the 3 chapter and 3 publication. Thank you for your patience. Any question, queries, and suggestions are highly welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kamal. There was they are very good plans, and it looks like you're going to be very busy for the next couple of years. Well done. Let's open the floor for questions.
Do we
Or
want,
you can,
sorry,
you can-
we'll start questions in the room first and then
Mhm.
questions if people want to type it. Otherwise, you're online also free to put your hand up and unmute yourself as well as an option. But any questions in the room for Kamal?
Thank you very much for the presentation and congratulations for everything that you already done and what you are planning to do. I'm not sure if you explained that, so I apologize if you already did. But for the second research question, you said that you're using the spatial disposition of what is perceived as a weed to understand if this is something that should be targeted or not with the herbicide. So I was wondering, with your models, with the machine learning models that you are using, are you classifying based on the spatial disposition or on the morphology?
Yeah, thank you very much for your nice question, and thank you for providing me the opportunity to clarify. Yeah, for this, actually, I mean, we classify weed based on, I mean, I already mentioned that, like, for this weed are any woody weeds rather than planting, yeah, then we plant it. Any cultivated, we consider everything as weeds. For this, we will use like different vegetation index, morphological trait, yeah, like texture, and then structure, and other metrics index. Then we also include like if even for like if in eucalyptus plantation, if wilding comes there, if we have wilding there, then it's really hard for us to determine whether it is from planted or or wheat or naturally growing. In that scenario, we believe that the other factor like spatial location, yeah, as well as the crown structure, because probably there might be difference in the height. The plantation crop will have uniform height. Yeah, this factor, we believe that this factor will add value in identifying whether is it cultivated or not.
Thank you.
If I understood well, I think you want all this to help the decisions, right? To control, not control, where to control, this kind of see. But where you want to go with all this, like you want to develop an app or automatize the system of applying spray or something, where you want to get to when all this is done?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to just develop a framework when it comes to decide like which sensor in my plantation, during the mapping, which sensor do I need? That gives answer like this. Which flight parameter do I need to use? Which machine learning algorithm? How much data will be needed? Yeah, just it will provide the guidance on this matter. Neither we are not in the position to develop like apps. Thank you.
Yes, I just missed. So what species in Radiata find?
In for objective 1, we'll focus on here Southeast Queensland Pinus species, and for the objective 2, we'll go green triangle where we can find like flatland. As I already mentioned, that topographic obstruction will be removed from our site, and for there we'll use the studied species will be eucalyptus and pinus.
That's in close to Mount Gambia. And then this one's for the southern pine. So where the locations are?
Actually, location has not been fixed yet,
Okay.
but we are in regular conversation with my supervisor as well as industry partner. And then after this, after preliminary field visit, then we can decide on the site.
This is HDB plantation.
Yeah, or in Queensland.
Is there any questions online? I can't see the chat, so if there's questions in the chat, someone can help us read or put your hand up.
Yes, so we also have Christine Stone that would like to ask a question, and then we do have 2 questions online that we would like to read out. Go, Christine.
Is it okay to have a couple of questions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's very well structured, and yeah, it was a very good presentation. I've just got a couple of questions, partly for my own. I'm not sure if Professor Finn is online. Is he online? Because I'm going to ask a question related to something that he's been doing. Is he online, Professor Finn? Perhaps not.
Don't think he is.
Okay. But Kamal, I'm assuming you're familiar with Professor Finn's work and his PINT software. And he's actually got a current FWPA project that will conclude in March 2026, so that's this month. And it's called Operational Transition of PINT Software. So he's gone from, I assume you're familiar with his unsupervised approach to the analysis of small pine seedlings, which is a very clever way of doing it. But in this new operationalizing approach, he also is saying that his system, which he is trying to transfer from his programming into an operational system, he's saying can also detect and classify weeds by type. Now, what I'm a bit confused about is this project you're doing is not part of his project. That's number one. And two, if he's doing that, and if you're familiar with the international software literature, what are the novel and new components of your research project that or what are the most novel, original components of your research that, to be honest, is not actually being done in other study groups? Can you describe what you think, what you're doing at a PhD level is novel and original compared to what is currently being done elsewhere?
Yeah, yes, you start. Yeah, thank you very much for your nice question. And then, yeah, the novelty. Actually, I mean, I already mentioned about the research gaps that we identified. Though we have a lot of information in the agricultural sector, anything regarding the drone, could be seen as novelty in the forestry sector. Yeah.
Is that true? There's several operators in in Australia that are flying over young plantations, UAV operators, especially down in Tasmania. I know someone from Tasmania is listening in, and he's actually asked a question about that. But yeah, so keep going. Yes.
And another thing is that not a single study could be found that address both stages of plantation. Yeah, the early stage and the late stage. And the finding the way to identify the wilding plant of the same species could be a novelty for this, research.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, just one more. You're focusing on machine learning approach, which is very shown to be robust and parsimonious. You don't need large data sets. But if you look at the 2026 sort of literature in this area, and I'm sort of trying to keep up, everyone's diving into deep learning. Yes, there are issues with deep learning. You do need larger data sets, but they also are trying to address those requirements through pre-training. There's a whole lot of approaches that are being considered in order to make it not so burdensome and require so much effort. So you have discussed that in your in the document that you submitted, but I just wanted a little bit more reasoning why you're focusing on machine learning. And this is something I would like to see. The more annotated reference data sets associated with Pinus radiata for Australian industry, the better. And if there was a collation of those data sets from a range of sensors, that would be fantastic. And at the moment, I don't think that's occurring, except perhaps in Tasmania. I just wondered what your comments on that would be, ML versus deep learning.
Yeah, thank you very much for again suggesting about the deep learning. Actually, I mean, intentionally, we want to make this approach less resource intensive. That's why we decided at that time. But in future, if data favors, we have also different technique, like we can extend our data using data augmentation technique and so on. But in terms of resource, deep learning is quite resource intensive. We need, processing speed of the computer as well as other resources. That are the ingredients for this project. In future, if data favors and if everything goes smoothly, we can widen it. If we do like traditional machine learning as a part, if data favors, then we can also incorporate this. We are also thinking about this.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. Sorry, just one more question. Sorry. When you're referring to your data acquisition, and it's very ambitious, you've got multiple sites in multiple regions, which is very admirable and especially important if you want a generic optimized model. You always refer to we. Who's helping you with this acquisition and the ground truthing, which I assume would be very time consuming? Are you getting assistance? And who is that assistance in people? Have you got a license, UAV pilot's license?
Yeah, myself having, as Sam already mentioned, I have experience of using drone in forest survey in Nepal. I have experience of more than 15 years in this sector. That's why to create a team and to manage the team, it would not be a great deal for me, I think so. And here in the new place, probably, I think my supervisor as well as industry's partner are behind me to support me whenever I need.
Christine, I might also just add to it. So Kamal's project is funded through FWPA under the Forest Best Management Research Consortium. So are a fairly large industry collaborative research program across the country. So we do have the acquired networks and people and resources in place to assist with any of the trial work through that, and can support him financially through that program as well with any of these endorsements or the endeavors that he sees. He's aiming to do.
That's really important information, may I add, and it'd be interesting if Kamal could actually put that into his, into his drafts. It's important to know that the industry, where he's got his funding from, and the support he's getting from the industry. That's important to know. Well, I think so. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thanks for the question as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And we do have a couple of questions and comments that came through online. So if okay, I can read them out. So from Danielle Weissman, looks like a lot of good work. I think it would be good to clearly articulate what the outcomes for the industry would be from this PhD. So Kamal, can you please tell us what is expected for the industry?
Yeah, expected for the industries will be like providing the simple and clear workflow and guideline for the selection of UAV parameter as well as mapping purposes, and for the purpose of herbicide treatment. That would be the major thing. Major output contribution for the industry's partners.
Okay, and then there is a question and a comment from Don Auric. Have you been in contact with the folks at UNITAS while conducting your literature research? Example, Dr. Darren Turner and Professor Arco Lucia. I was involved in a study comparing RGB with multispectral in identifying wattle weeds in young pine plantations in Tasmania. Regards, Dawn. So
Yeah.
that's a very good suggestion, and I believe Christine also suggested work that it's coming out from Tasmania. So have you been in contact with the folks, and are there plans to be in contact?
So the question is whether you have been in contact with those people that you mentioned, or whether, I don't know if they have published any literature or studies.
No, actually, yeah. I mean, I have never been in contact with the people that you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, regarding the publication, yeah, probably, yeah, but very few literature can be found in this matter, like, I mean, RBG and multispectral. And that also varies with the species, in what location, for what species we are comparing, that also matters. But I mean, the species that we choose has been studied very limited.
Mhm. Okay, and final comment is from Daring Crook. Thank you, Kamal. I look forward seeing the results, especially in eucalypt, where differentiation between seedlings and weeds, like wattle, is difficult. So, um, uh, results for eucalypt, any preliminary results or something that you can comment on?
We didn't have any, sorry, we didn't have any preliminary result. And then, of course, it will be difficult not only to identify other plants from the seedling. The major difficulty lies in the wilding, to identify wilding. And then we're in the, I mean, we're thinking about it. And at the moment, we are in, I mean, we have confidence that we can nail it.
Excellent. Well, Kamal, thank you very much for answering a lot of our questions. I think it is only fair that we let you out of the hook. Sorry, whatever is the expression, let you off the hook, and to go and to enjoy this milestone in your PhD. So one more time, thank you for giving us lovely seminar. Thank you for our reviewers and our audience. And now, Kamal, we will ask you just a little bit to leave the room, and if we can stay with our reviewers and with supervisors. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Kamal.
Thank you very much.
Kamal.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Kamal.
And Helen, I think we can stop the recording now. Stop recording.